All right, I just hit the live stream. Let's. Good evening and welcome to the Top 25 Rundown presented by the Sportscast. Today is November 1st, 2023. If you haven't yet, please subscribe on all your channels: YouTube, Twitter, Twitch.tv, and Apple Podcasts. If you are on Apple Podcasts, please leave a rating and review. It'll help us out tremendously. We are also on DAB Digital Radio. You can listen to us on your speaker, play Sportscast. Visit us on the sportscast.net. Also follow us on Twitter at the Sportscast1 and check out our app, the Sportscast, the iOS App Store. Hello, my name is Alan West. Welcome to Top 25 Rundown. And here with me, back after a little bit of a hiatus, we have Mr. Tyler Turner. How we doing, sir?
So, man, were you doing this every week
Uh,
the last couple weeks?
I have been, yes.
Just didn't invite me,
Yep.
huh?
Honestly, by the time I realized it, I didn't want to try to impose on you. So I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna be like, hey, you
Did
want to
did
jump on? It's
did
seven
anyone
o'clock. What the heck, man?
did anyone come on?
Just me and Bob.
Cool.
Yep, no, don't worry. If there was someone else who was coming on, I would try to make sure you could be on at the same time, sir. Come on, you really think
I-
I'm going to
I-
pass up on a chance for you to have a debate?
Is Bob coming on tonight?
He will be on, yes. He usually comes on right around 10:30, so we'll see if we'll get you on long enough to where he's on. If not, I understand completely. I know it's been
I'm a little tired.
yeah. So, actually, since you haven't been on, the Sportscast had a merger, and so you can check it out on our site. And what it is we've had a sports betting group that has gone onto our site and merged with us. So if you are in any of the 50 states or in the provinces in Canada, I think other places as well, you can go on our site, look on there, and if you want to try to do some sort of sports book, you can do it on there. Personally, the picks that you and me and Bob make, we just make as the picks. But if someone decides they want to do that, they can go to our site and see about that. Or if you need gambling help, there are different phone numbers you can call to get that as well. That being
Is
said,
Santiago is
like
Santiago getting paid for that?
that's what I'm told. So you know what? I'm just saying what I'm saying carefully and because my thing is when I make picks like we do every week, they're just our picks. I'm not going to say that you would make those picks because if you've been making mine the last week or 2 weeks, you wouldn't be very happy with yourself right now. So, and I can own that. Before we talk about the picks, though, one thing I thought that you would want to talk about is the CFP playoff rankings. What do you think about those so far, sir?
Well, first ones are always interesting, just kind of see where the CFP's at.
Hmm.
Um seem to I don't know, little bit inconsistent, I guess, maybe. They went with the team that probably had beaten probably at number one. They went with the team that had the best schedule, Ohio State. So they honored them for playing the best schedule and being undefeated. Second and third seemed to be the teams that looked the best, I guess, but they haven't played good schedules. And then Florida State played a good schedule, but I didn't get Florida State. Okay, I didn't get the logic with Ohio State at one and Florida State at four. It seemed like you would have done Ohio State and Florida State one and two, or you would have done Michigan and Oregon one and two. Sorry, Oregon, Michigan or Georgia one and two.
Uh,
So only thing that confused me, and I saw a few other people say this, it seemed like it should have either been Ohio State one, Florida State two, and then like Georgia and Michigan, or it should have been Georgia, Michigan, and then Ohio State, Florida State. Because it seemed like they picked like The team that was undefeated with the best, but Ohio State hasn't looked as good as Georgia and Michigan. Like they haven't won by the margins they have. I mean, Ohio State's had some reasonably close games, but they've also played tougher schedules. Schedule, not schedules. And
Mhm.
then Florida
I believe it's
State,
like the 15th ranked schedule for Ohio State this year.
and then Florida State has, beat LSU and beat a top 15
Hmm.
team.
Hmm.
I don't know who else who else their schedule, but they'd probably
They beat Clemson too. Although that
yeah.
game it could have gone either way.
Yeah,
So
Clemson's 4-4. It was at Clemson. Duke's obviously fallen off. Yeah, Florida State's
mhm.
schedule maybe not as I don't know. And then you had Washington at 5, and Washington had the best victory of them all. They beat the number 6 team. That's a better victory than any of the others. It's a true story.
what was Notre
What do
Dame
you
ranked?
what are you laughing at? No, it doesn't matter where they're ranked. That's not how you do it. It doesn't matter. What are you laughing about?
No, no, it just
That's
when
not
you're
how
talking
they
about the
do.
ranking.
You don't do a team was ranked number 3 and then they end up going 4-8 and you're like, well, they beat the number 3 team. That's not how you do it. You do it where the team is ranked when you're doing the ranking.
Okay,
Oregon's better than Notre Dame.
correct. They
So
are indeed.
so Washington has the best record, but then Washington hasn't looked as good recently. So a little bit, I don't know, a little bit contradictory. I would have said Georgia and Michigan looked the best, but um, yeah, whatever.
Okay.
So what was your opinion?
I had a feeling it was going to be those four teams, but I just wasn't sure about the order. I was a little surprised though. I almost thought Washington would have jumped ahead of Florida State just because, I mean, they did beat LSU. Florida State did, yes, but I thought that the Washington and Oregon game, I thought that was going to maybe go a little bit higher, honestly, just for how the playoff committee was going to look because you see Oregon's number 6. So, I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if Washington had been in the top 4 in the first ranking.
Yeah. I just don't understand why Oregon. Sorry, I'm tired. I'm really tired tonight. I just don't understand why Georgia and Michigan were then so high because they have not played good schedules, but they look really good. I don't know. Whatever. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. There wasn't. It just wasn't the most consistent. It just kind of went from strength of schedule to eye test, and it just contradicted itself. And Oklahoma beat Texas, but was behind them. I don't know. It did make a lot of sense, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see how it ends up.
Yeah, I mean, we still got a few. We got a long way to go. It's not over yet. So,
No.
got about 4 weeks. So, we'll definitely see how it turns up for that. And have you been keeping track of that Michigan scandal by any chance?
Yeah, I do know that there's something going on. I have been a little bit, but not enough to talk about it right now when I'm really tired.
Okay. Well, no, that they had something else about it where for Central Michigan playing Michigan State on the first game, they're pretty sure the guy who's been accused of Stein stealing was at that game in Central Michigan gear with glasses to record signs behind the coaches. So we're waiting to see how that goes because last week Michigan had the honor of being investigated by the FBI and the NCAA. So that was kind of interesting.
Is it really that much more egregious than any other team does?
Unfortunately, I do think it is because
Because Michigan.
rivalry aside, if you're going to play, think about how Harbaugh has been the last few years. Before the last 2 years, he couldn't do anything. He was getting maybe 8 or 9 wins.
I wouldn't say do.
Now,
I wouldn't say do anything.
he hasn't been as successful. Okay, he hasn't been as successful. All of a sudden, the last 2 or 3 years, making it to the playoff and getting blown out every time. I mean, when they played TCU, teams warned TCU that Michigan was stealing signs, so they used dummy signs before their game started. I mean, it may not seem like much to you. I get that, but since I have seen it firsthand, being an Ohio State fan, Michigan the last few years, the games before they won the last 2 years, the games hadn't really been that close. But to see how they were playing and just watching how it looked like every time we would run a play, they already knew what the play was. So they were already prepared so that they could do better because they haven't had two blowouts in a row for Michigan, not since John Cooper was the coach in the 90s. So I'm going to wait to see what happens, but they're overdue, but it
They have
just,
good players though. I don't
yeah,
know.
I'm not saying they don't have good players. I mean, Corum, him coming back from the ACL, that's huge for them. I'm glad to see he's doing well. Edwards is also doing well. The quarterback, McCarthy, he's also been doing
But
great.
the
I
last few
mean,
years they've had good players like that Aiden Hutchinson, that Quiddy Pay. They had, Quorum obviously has been there last couple of years. So is McCarthy. So is Edwards. Um, I don't know. Seems a little like sour grapes. I just think there's other teams that do it. I just kind of odd that they're right now going after Harbaugh. What did he get suspended for early in the year again?
was it's a recruiting violation, I think, because they're already being investigated by the NCAA before this.
Yeah,
So
he got
Michigan
suspended. He got
suspended him.
suspended 3 games.
Yes, Michigan may at first he said he wasn't going to, but Michigan said no, you're going to sit out these 3 games because it was for a level 1 code, and they're trying to avoid the lack of institutional control. So they figured by suspending him to 3 games,
Let me look this
that would
up.
help to lessen the blow. Okay.
Jim Harbaugh.
By the way, your flashlight's on your
Oh,
phone.
I know. Oh, I need to, because otherwise I look dark. But I need to see. Suspended for
Because their investigation that they're looking at for that isn't going to be really worked on until next year.
Harbaugh. The season for unresolved NCAA violations tied to recruiting. So some kind of
Hmm.
impermissible scouting. Oh no. Hmm. Well,
Yeah,
he's probably going to head to the NFL.
most likely. I wouldn't be surprised if he did after this year, honestly, because
Yeah, I
the
wouldn't
way
be
that
either.
this is
I
looking,
would I would say that he probably does.
it's almost kind of giving me like a Pete Carroll when he had to leave USC kind of vibe, a little bit.
Oh man.
But I
Hopefully.
mean, for Ohio's,
Ho-
when I'm
ho-
looking at Ohio State right now, this team reminds me of their 2003 team, 2002, 2003 team, because even though they're not blowing people out, they're still getting the wins. So I'm waiting to see how that goes the rest of the year. But all the games I've been watching, you're watching the first few halves where it's not looking as good, but then they're pulling it out in the fourth quarter or right before the game ends. I mean, it's not always pretty, but they're getting it done. So I'm curious to see how that's going to go the rest of the year just for the next few games they have. But that Penn State game, I think that was the game that opened up a few eyes more than Notre Dame, honestly. So that's just my humble opinion, sir.
I, I I'm sorry. I just the last few years when I watch Ohio State, they're just not as good as they were before. And I know that they still have lots of talent and they have some really good players, but I just haven't thought they're as good on the offensive side of the ball. They are playing better defense, but I just
Yeah.
I just felt like the teams in like 2019 and the team that won the national title, and even the team
hmm
that didn't
hmm
the year after didn't win the national. I just felt like those teams were a lot better.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Unless my eyes are deceiving me that much. I thought the Ryan Day's first team with Chase Young, Justin Fields at
hmm
quarterback. I thought that was his best team. And then obviously I thought the Urban Meyer team that won the national title in the year after were really good. I just this team like Kyle McCord is not. He's not as good as Justin Fields. He's not as good as
no,
Dwayne
no, it's
Haskins.
not.
He's not as good as CJ Stroud. He's just much more average. Um, uh, the running backs, Travion Henderson's pretty good, but they've had better backs.
They
And
have, and actually, Mayan Williams is now out for the year. He had a
okay.
procedure yesterday, so he's now gone for the rest of the year.
And see,
They just announced that.
he was the more consistent back. See, Travion was kind of a guy that was explosive, but
hmm
and then Marvin Harrison's obviously amazing. But Abuka, he has trouble staying healthy.
hmm
Um, Fleming has never been as good as he was supposed to be coming out. Kate Stover's a good tight end. Like right now, there's just no way that I would. And I know you call me a Ohio State hater, but I've watched Ohio State play more than almost any other team. They're
Sure.
always on TV. I lived a lot of time in the Midwest, so they're always on in the Midwest because it's a Big Ten country. I just have seen what I think are better Ohio State teams. Like I
I'm
think,
not going to argue with that
like I
because I
think
agree.
Michigan's better, cheating or not. I just think they're a little better. I think McCarthy's better than McCord. I think Corum and Edwards are better than any running backs that Michigan has. I think Michigan's offensive line's better. I think defensively both teams are good, but I just think Michigan's better on offense. So gotta score points to win. So that's just my opinion.
I mean, I'm looking forward to the game just because I'm curious to see how it's going to be. Because I mean, I want to see how they can stop Edwards or Corn because that's going to be the main. I think that even if McCarthy has a great day, if Edwards and Corum when they play, if they don't show up, it's going to be
Mhm.
harder. So I mean, that's just my opinion on it. So
So about last week's games, the game of the week was I wasn't on here, so I didn't get to pick it with you. The game of the week was Utah versus Oregon. How about that game? So did you pick Utah to cover or Utah to win?
I believe I picked them to cover because I didn't think that they were
What
going to
did
beat
you pick? What
Oregon.
did you pick on here?
I believe I picked Utah to cover.
You didn't pick him to win?
I don't think I did. Don't think I picked them to win.
I'm gonna go listen to that one.
That's fine. Daddy, you know what? Bob's going to come on. So you know what? If I'm wrong, me and Bob went over game by game. So Bob will tell me if I misspoke. Because
Well, I know you missed the game because you
yep,
picked Utah to at least cover.
yep. Because I thought that Utah was gonna do better at home, and unfortunately they didn't. And so when I looked at that,
So you're
I
gonna
just
keep
shook my head.
are you gonna just keep on going against the Ducks until you like just just lose those points?
No,
Your animus towards the Oregon's that bad?
no, no. My animus isn't toward them at all. Honestly,
Just
I don't have an animus toward Oregon, but it's just I thought that Utah being at home, they were going to have a better showing. And unfortunately, they choked epically. And
no,
it
they
just, I
didn't
looked at
choke.
that.
No, they didn't choke. How did they choke?
I
Please
thought that they were
explain
going to
to
give
me.
Oregon a better run for their money.
Okay, choking means you choke, like you can win, but you choke. How did Utah choke? Choke is like when you use the term definition choke, it's
Okay.
like you could win the game and you choked and gave up a victory. How can you possibly say a team that lost by 29 points choked?
I thought it was going to be a closer game, and I was incorrect.
Okay, I get that. But you said use the term choke. Choke means you're going to win. Like you're winning the game, and then you choke and you end up losing. You don't use the term choke when you lose by 29 points. There wasn't any, the game was 21-3 at the beginning of the second quarter. It was 35-6 in the early third quarter. That's just a butt whooping. 35-3. It was
Yeah,
30,
yeah.
35, no, 35-6. So no, I'm just saying, how, you just won't give Oregon its due? So Utah choked?
Oregon gave him a butt whooping. Okay. Oregon
Yeah,
was able to jump on him.
did just say that.
There you go.
Give Oregon its
Congratulations.
due. Well,
Oregon
You acted like
played a great
Utah.
game.
Yeah, I like Utah. I kind of knew it was going to be a tough game. I know the game was at Utah. You didn't have me on, but
Hmm.
I would have gone into it. But I knew the game was in Utah, and Utah is very good at home. They had only lost one time since 2018. But the problem is only weakness really Oregon has right now on their team actually is their
Hmm.
secondary. You can make some plays in the secondary. Well, Utah can't throw the ball. They're playing a
Yep.
backup quarterback. He's not a good passer. They do not
Hmm.
have a lot of healthy wide receivers. They don't have their good tight ends out for the season. So I was thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, if you're going to beat Oregon, you got to throw the ball. Washington threw the ball. Washington
Hmm.
State got some yards on them. If you can throw the ball, get the ball down the field, get the ball over the middle, you can get some yards and points on Oregon. I'm like, Utah can't throw the ball. The only thing they can do is run. Well, Oregon, I knew is one of the better run defenses, not just in the Pac 12, but in the country. And I also
Hmm.
knew that if they became one dimensional, they have one of the better pass rushes. So I'm like, they're probably going to stack it and just stop the run. They did. I said, and then
Hmm.
they're going to make them one dimensional, and then they're going to have a bunch of guys rushing and blitzing, and then he's going to be under pressure, and then he's going to have to make really good throws because he's going to be under pressure, and he wasn't able to, which I didn't think he was. So I kind
Hmm.
of, when I kept on going through it in my mind, I was like, I don't know how. I know they're at home, but how's Utah going to score? So then I came to the conclusion the only way that Utah was going to stay in the game was if Oregon turned the ball over. And they did turn the ball over on the second possession. And when that happened, I was like, well, this is the only way they can stay in the game. Turn the ball over, you make mistakes, they get some special teams plays. I'm like, then get the crowd into it. Um, and then that's when my son's right here in the window. And then and
Yep.
then and then that's how they win. But
Hmm.
even then, Utah turns the ball over, gets the ball at Oregon's 25, and went, I think, like 2 yards.
Okay. See, for me, I worked last weekend, so I didn't even get to watch most. I only got to watch the Ohio State and Wisconsin. The rest of the time, I was looking at ESPN's scoreboard when I was at work, so I could keep track of the top 25. And for me, the time when I knew I was in trouble was when it was 21-3. I said, "Yep, game's already over." Because I was like, at first I thought Utah had the
Well,
chance to
I'm
cover.
educating you on the game. I'm telling you what happened.
Exactly, and I appreciate that. I
Yeah. So,
appreciate that. I
anyways,
mean,
and then offensively, Utah's a pretty good defense, but Oregon's good
mhm,
offense. They were able to, you know, pat like Utah kind of like was forcing Oregon. They put a lot of guys in the box, and they were like, "Well, we're going to stop your run, so you're gonna have to make some plays down the field." And Oregon just
mhm,
went right down the field in the opening possession. I think they completed like 7 of 8 passes. I mean, the thing is, Oregon offensively is extremely balanced. Like,
mhm.
if you stack the box, Nix is, I mean, he can throw the ball. Troy Franklin's one of the better receivers in college football. Tez Johnson's a really good slot guy. They have a good tight end. Both the running backs can catch the ball good. So Oregon can throw the ball around. But then if you get guys out of the box, Oregon then will just run right down your throat because Bucky Irvin's one of the better running backs in college football. And so they're a tough team to scheme against defensive if you're on defense because they can run and they can throw. And like I said, defensively, in order to score on Oregon, you got to make some plays in the passing game, and Utah just couldn't. So it
Yeah,
was,
no,
yeah, it was just they definitely didn't choke. They just were by far outmanned, honestly.
they were overmatched. So let me rephrase. Instead of choke, they were overmatched, and Oregon just showed them.
Oregon's pretty good,
Yeah, I mean
and I
they're
will
not
admit
no,
the
it's not there for
national
nothing. So
all the national guys are starting to catch on. Oregon, hey buddy, go to bed. You need to go to bed. Go to bed. It's time to go to bed. Um, hold on a second. I'm
yep.
putting you in your room. Go to bed.
All
Go to
right.
bed. Go to bed. Or you're going in your room. He drives me nuts. He goes to bed at like 11 every night. He waits for me. But anyways, could you hear me saying go to bed?
I understand though. I mean,
Hmm?
because when children always it happens.
He's just
With
making,
children, we get it.
he's like licking on the window too. Jeez, it's ridiculous. But anyways, yeah, but Oregon's good. They're good. Good offense, great offense, good quarterback, good running back, good, really good receiver, good offensive line, good defensive
I think
line.
right now, I think they have. They're saying that Bo has the completion percentage like Joe Burrow did at LSU the year he won the Heisman. So because I think his ratio is what 25-1 right now.
22 touchdowns, one interception. And he's completing
Yeah.
78% of the passes. They definitely don't have an offense. And I love my Ducks, but they don't have an offense as good as the LSU one.
Hmm.
But they're a good team. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's at the point where I've seen them play enough. Their only loss was to Washington, and they actually outplayed Washington. And it was at Washington, and Washington's good.
Hmm.
And Oregon was actually the better team. But I think they win the rest of their games. I do think they end up winning the Pac-12, and I do think they end up in the playoff. And I think yeah, I mean, Oregon could win the national title. I mean, it wouldn't shock me. I don't know if I'd consider them the favorite, but they're good enough to, like, Ohio State and Oregon would be an interesting matchup because, yeah, that'd be an interesting matchup. Like that's a game that, like, Ohio State definitely has a good defense, but Kyle McCord would have to make some plays. But you do have Marvin Harrison. I mean,
Hmm.
that'd be an interesting matchup.
It kind of would remind me of when 2 or 3 years ago when Utah played Ohio State and Smith and Jigba went off in that game.
Oh, you Oregon's much better than that Utah team.
True, true. I'm not saying they aren't, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying that would be kind of like the comparison some people would say. That's all I'm saying.
Well, that's kind of a weird. Why would they compare? I don't think this Oregon team and this Utah team and that Utah team are remotely the same. Other than the fact that they play in the Pac-12. I mean, so I just don't get what's the comparison.
That would be the main comparison that some people would use, just because Utah, their offense wasn't as good, but their defense had kept them in the game, and Ohio State's defense couldn't stop Cam Rising. And so, right now, the way that Bo Nix is playing, say if there was a game like that, Jim Knowles would have his hands full trying to not only prepare for Bo Nix, but just all your other offensive players as well.
Sure, I just don't think that's a good comparison. Other
Okay.
than Utah's a football team and Oregon's a football team.
All right, fine. We'll just
I
use
just
that. We'll use that.
okay. If your defense plays as bad as they did against that Utah team, you're gonna get blown out by Oregon
Possibly.
because your offense is not as good, and Oregon's um defense is pretty good. I mean, Oregon has a decent defense this year. So if you play as bad and give up like 50 points or whatever to Oregon's offense, you don't win. But I just don't think that's a very good comparison. I actually think your team is totally different. That I think you have a much better defense, and I don't think you have as good offense.
Okay,
And
that's
then
fair.
and then I think Oregon has a much better offense than um that Utah team. I don't think they're probably as good on defense. That Utah team had pretty good defense. So yeah, I just don't get the comparison. I guess you're just thinking about Pac-12 versus Pac-12.
More than that. Yeah, yeah. I can
I just
admit
don't.
that.
I'm just not seeing the correlation. I think your team in general is a lot different.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this year, like their backup quarterback Devin Brown got hurt in the game before this last one, so Colin McCord had to tough through it, which was good and bad. But it just watching how they were playing this week, it was closer than it should have been because they should have beaten Wisconsin by more. But
Yeah, you won
the
by
good thing
14
is
on
they
the
have
road.
Trevian back. Huh?
You won by 14 on the road. It's a win's win.
True, true. And I mean, West Camp Randall is not an easy place to play.
Like
So,
I said, I don't think you guys have that good offense. I mean, I've seen you play. Saw you play against Penn State. Saw you play last week against
mm,
Wisconsin. Saw you play against Maryland. Shoot, when else have I seen you? Saw you play against Notre Dame. Saw you play against. I saw some of the
Indiana,
Western Kentucky. Saw some of the Indiana game. I haven't been impressed with your offense ever.
the only game that was a blowout this year was Western Kentucky. But even still,
Even then, I mean, they're like way outmanned. I've been
hmm
impressed with your defense. I think you have a good defense. You have good guys that can get after the quarterback, good interior defensive line, solid secondary. JT Tuilalau is a great player. Jack Sawyer is a good
hmm
player. I forget what that defensive tackle. He's a very good player. Burke, the corner, is a good player. Josh Proctor is a
hmm
good player. So, like your defense, I actually think is very good. I think you have a very good defense. I just on offense, you have Marvin Harrison. Other than that, Kyle McCord is seems kind of limited a little bit, and um, your running game has been, guys have been just injured a lot. Your offensive
hmm
line is not the most physical.
hmm
I just don't think you're great on offense. I think you're very good on defense. That's why when you're saying you're comparing that Ohio State versus Utah, I'm like so different. I'm like your defense is way better, but then your offense is not near as good.
Okay,
So
fair enough.
wonder if
And
Bob would
yes,
agree with me.
but we're joined by Bob Abbas first of all.
Is he even
So
paying attention?
Thanks for finally having me. Yeah,
it finally just showed up, so I could admit you.
dude, I was waiting like 20 minutes.
Really?
No, about 10.
Okay.
Oh
Yes,
Uh,
wow.
I'm paying attention.
You did say 10:30 and now it's 10:40.
So,
the
so
the
what am I
icon
supposed
just
to?
came on.
What am I supposed to side with Tyler on here?
Go
Well,
ahead, Tyler.
he was telling me that if Oregon and Ohio State played each other, it would remind him of the Utah versus Ohio State Rose Bowl game 2 years ago. And I was just like, I don't think that's a very good comparison. I just think they're very different teams, both Ohio State and Oregon, than that Ohio State team and Utah. I just thought it was a weird comparison.
I think Allen's either going to be super optimistic or super pessimistic, like we are with our teams, and I think he's drinking the Kool Aid a lot, hard and heavy. So that's just my 2 cents.
So
You know,
are you trying to say you don't think Ohio State's that good?
Who?
You.
I just said he's drinking the Kool Aid. I didn't say anything. If I had Ohio State picked this week to cover, and it's like a double-digit points, which I never do.
And they didn't cover.
No, I mean this coming week I have them.
Oh, who are they playing this week?
uh,
Rutgers. They're playing Rutgers.
Oh yeah, I mean I could. I mean Ohio State's I mean they're very good. They're very like I said, they're very good defensively.
it's 18 and a half on the road. That number normally scares me.
Yeah, and
But
like I said, Ohio State's offense, I'm trying to think of when I've thought they've looked really, really good this year, and I'm like, haven't come up with a game. Maybe
well, they're
Purdue.
undefeated, so they're
Maybe
looking good
Purdue.
enough.
Well, their defense is very good.
Yeah.
They do have a very good defense. They have a very good defense.
Yeah.
If you could put this defense with the offense 2 years ago, they'd win the Natty.
Oh, oh yeah, yeah, 100%. Because Fields, no, no, CJ was still the quarterback. So yeah, no, they would
Yeah, but
definitely do
you
that.
you had Chris Olave, Garrett
Yep.
Wilson, Jackson Smith,
Well,
a
no, they
big
actually
bow.
set out the game. Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson set out that
Yeah,
game.
the Rose Bowl game, but they wouldn't sit out if it was in the playoff.
True, true. But yeah, no, because it was just a Rose Bowl, they set out. But yeah, no, otherwise, 100% they would have played.
Yeah, that team, Ohio State team, had a terrible defense. Trust me, they played against Oregon. They're
Oh, I
they
remember.
they couldn't cover the edge,
Yep,
and
that game my daughter was watching.
that was not a great Oregon team.
Yeah, I mean, your team a few years before was better.
Yeah, like 2 years before. Yeah, the Justin Herbert
Mm-hmm.
team.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It was
I mean, they were more stacked, and I'll give you that, Tower. Okay.
stacked. Okay, so I will say this: this year's Oregon team is way better than that Oregon team. This year's
I
Oregon
agree.
team, this Oregon team would beat that Oregon team by like 14 points.
I agree. I mean,
This Oregon team is since I became well, I've watched. I actually told someone this the other day. I've watched 82 straight Oregon games. I haven't missed it. I might miss it this week because of because it's on Pac-12 Network and I have to cover the Liberty game. So I might see you there, Bob.
What time does Oregon play?
5:30
No. Yeah, you're
on
screwed.
on the Pac-12 Network. So that might be
Yeah.
my streak might be done. But this is the best team that since I've watched them 7 years in a row. This is the best team in 7 years, and this is probably they're pretty. I think they're comparable to the 2014 team that lost to Ohio State in the national championship. Just from my
okay.
perspective,
Yeah,
from what I see
and that
them.
was Mariota and
Yeah, no,
DeForest Buckner was on that team.
yeah. DeForest Buckner, Eric Armstead, Efe, whatever, Efo, whatever you call his last name, and then they had
Mm-hmm.
like Royce Freeman. That was a very good team.
Yeah, it
Very good
was.
team.
So,
Pick the games.
yeah, we'll pick the games, and also, Bob, since I know you and me can talk about this a little bit later. Saw Bob Knight passed away, and then also
Yep.
the Liberty football coach who got him into D1 passed away today as well.
Morgan Howe.
Really?
Yes. Yep. We'll talk more about those later, Bob, you and me, just because we gotta get Tyler to bed soon, so we gotta make sure we get all the picks.
I have
Well,
kids.
I might have to leave to go tuck him in. I don't know.
We are in the same city.
Give you a little blanket. Give you a little blanket and teddy bear.
Give you a bottle.
Y'all still need to set a date,
Well,
by the
no.
way, when we're going to do the Tyler versus Allen trivia.
Yeah, we will set that up. Just
Questions are just
Tyler,
marinating right now.
well, that's good, but Tyler, I think you'll agree with me on this. We'll have to wait till after the 11th before we try to set up a date because, well, I know with how things are for you, right now is not the best time to try to set something up for that.
Hmm?
Bob wants us to do sports trivia Jeopardy, you versus me.
No. Wait a minute. It's college football Jeopardy, one round and a final question. That's all it is.
On
Okay.
here or in person.
Pardon? Probably on here would be for the best.
So
Probably on here, but we're not.
why can't I do it? I'm confused.
No,
I never said you
can.
couldn't.
I'm just saying. No. All I said was after the election, probably you'll have more time to where we can set up to where we'll do that. Just because we're not going to do it on an episode of the show, we're going to do a special episode that we can always have played another time.
Sure.
So just because that way we can make sure that it'll work and we don't interfere with not only your job but also my job too, or Bob's job, so we can make sure that Bob will be the moderator and it'll be fun. So, but no, Bob, we'll figure that out, and if we figure out about in person, we'll do that. But I'm not sure about that right now. So
No, I don't.
anyway,
I think over here would work for the best, probably.
most likely. Anyway, for the picks, once again, disclaimer: these are just picks that we're making. If you decide that you want to do wagers for them, you can always go to our site and follow there. But this is just me and Bob and Tyler talking about who we think is going to win and just going from there. So starting out, we have
I had a good
12 noon
week
on
last week.
ABC.
Oh, jeez.
I know, I saw that.
Very
Number
good
12,
week.
Notre Dame going against
You guys could
Clemson.
send me
Notre Dame,
Father's
two
Day's
and a half point
cards. That's
favorite.
okay.
Not yet, not yet. We're still within striking range, so it's not over yet, sir. But Notre Dame is a 2.5 point favorite. Tyler, who you got?
By the way, if Santiago hadn't skipped a whole week, he'd probably be in second place.
Probably, probably.
The first game, man, I don't feel great about this because it is at Clemson, and Clemson's very good, has always been very good at home. I've outlined that before when I've picked, but they're playing terrible. They're figuring out how to lose every game. Notre Dame's a pretty good team. I think Notre Dame wins. I don't feel amazingly confident of it. I could totally see Clemson winning at home, but so I guess because it's 2.5, so Notre Dame covers and wins.
How about you, Bob?
I don't feel great about it either, but I got Notre Dame also. I love it when I saw a site this week that was mentioning who the replacements might be if Dabo gets fired. I'm like, seriously?
He's not gonna get fired. That's
Seriously?
stupid. That's how unrealistic
There's no
people are.
way.
That's why Dobble went off this week on a caller.
Yep, I saw that.
But you know, they had three names mentioned. You know who one of them was? Jamie
Yeah.
Chadwell.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Jamie Chadwell would. He'd totally be a good fit there. A Christian from the South, he would be a good fit. But he won't get fired. But
No.
now will Dabber leave?
No,
Yeah.
no, not this year.
If Nick Saban leaves Alabama, I guarantee you Dabble goes back. I think because you wear your welcome out at one place. And I think already it's kind of getting there. And the way he's acting right now, yeah, I think Dabble, if Alabama opened up, he would say, you know what, I've done my thing here at Clemson. I'll go to Alabama now.
It's kind of making himself seem more important than the school. So yeah, I see what you're saying for that. I am picking Notre Dame to win and cover as well. Second game, noon on CBS. We have number 3 Ohio State going against Rutgers. Ohio State is an 18.5 point favorite. Bob?
Give me the Buckeyes.
All right. How about you, Tyler?
I don't love it because Ohio State's offense is once again, like I said, it's figured out not to look that good. But I picked against them against Purdue, and that came back to bite me. I guess Ohio State wins by like 24 or something. Rutgers is not that good. They're 6-2, but they're still not that good.
Yeah. We all pick Ohio State, so
Of course you do. You'd pick them
Of
even they're up by
course.
90. They could literally make a spread like 200 and you against Michigan.
I don't know if I would go that far, but depending on what it is. Next game, we have 12 noon on ESPN. We have Texas A&M going against Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a 4.5 point favorite. What do you got, Tyler?
I mean, Old Miss, I don't think they're that good, but they're 7-1. It is at Old Miss, but Texas A&M totally would do something weird like win this, which they're gonna. A&M.
All right. What do you think, Bob?
Give me Ole Miss. I don't know
Ooh.
why. I have no logic behind it whatsoever because I think Ole Miss is. I think they looked horrible against Alabama, and that's the only time I've really seen them. But I think Texas A&M is a dumpster. Give me Ole Miss.
Okay. I'm gonna pick Ole Miss to win, but Texas A&M to cover.
Hmm.
Because I I don't trust Texas A&M to win, but I trust it to be a close game. So we'll see how that goes. 12 noon on Fox. We have number 525 Kansas State going against number 7 Texas. Texas is a 4.5 point favorite. Bob, who you got?
I'm going to channel your future World Series champion Texas Rangers and go Texas.
You guys find it odd that it's a 4.5 point spread at Texas? That's pretty low.
A little bit. A little bit.
Kansas State's look pretty good. Texas, Quinn Ewers is hurt, so they're playing
Yep.
their backup.
Yep.
It is at Texas. This is totally a spot where Texas could lose. I either have Texas pulling out a last minute victory by 3 or losing. So I have Kansas State covering and maybe winning.
I have the same.
Ooh, winning or covering?
I think they're going to cover.
I guess
I'd love if they
could be
win,
really
but
close.
I don't. I don't think with Texas backup quarterback, I don't think it's going to be how like the last game he did really well. I don't think it's going to be the same going against Kansas State. I'm not convinced about that. 2 o'clock on the Pac-12 network, we have Arizona State going against Utah. Utah's a 10.5 point favorite. Go ahead, Tyler.
Why do they have this game on here? Okay.
I don't know.
Arizona State actually has looked kind of good. They only lost by a touchdown at Washington. They only lost by 10 points to USC at their home. But I can't see Utah losing back to back. That spread does worry me a little bit because Utah offense is not very good. I definitely think Utah wins this game. I guess I have Utah covering. I do not feel great about that because I could see this being like a 24-17, 21-14. Screw it. I have Arizona State covering, Utah winning.
Okay.
I'm gonna switch.
Give me the Utes.
Well, I got bit in the butt last week, so I'm going to take Arizona State to cover.
I love these games to where I can make up ground.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to make up ground too. So I mean, hey, it's okay because if I hadn't done bad the last 2 weeks, it would have
But I've got
been
to
a
make up
lot
ground on
closer, if
both of
not
you.
more.
I've got to make up ground on both of you. So this is more important for
You
me.
you only got like 1 point to catch me right
Stop
now, so
making it all about you,
it's
Alan.
hard to catch me.
Stop making it all about you. This is selfishness.
Oh, really, Bob? Really, sir?
No, we don't need selfishness here.
It's all about me.
Okay, Bob. Okay.
Missouri. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
See, I'm not trying to
CB
take over the podcast here, Alan.
3:30 on CBS. We got number 14 Missouri going against number 1 Georgia, the 16.5 point favorites. Go ahead, Tyler.
Oh man, that's a pretty big spread, isn't it? Dang. I think Georgia will win. Georgia's better. 16.5 is a lot. I see this being like a 38-24 type game. I also see this kind of being a 41-24 type game. So then they cover. I'm going to say it's a 38-24. Missouri actually, they're able to cover. They lose by 2 touchdowns, but they cover.
I
All
can't
right.
imagine
Bob?
any situation in the world where Missouri wins outright. My imagination's not that good.
Yeah, me
I've got
either.
Missouri covering though.
Yeah. See?
Georgia wins.
I have Georgia winning straight up and
Ooh,
covering.
like that.
All right. 3:30 on the ACC network. You have Virginia Tech going against Louisville. Louisville is a 9.5-point favorite.
Why is this
We
game
got
on here?
I know. That's what I was thinking too. Like a crappy game.
well,
Louisville
no.
all
If
day
you
and
look
all
at
night.
ACC's,
Yeah, same. I'm not even wasting my time on this one, Louisville.
well, I mean, if you look
Look
at
at
the
Ma Tech
ACC
win it.
standings, have you looked at the ACC standings this year?
I wouldn't put Georgia Tech on this thing either. And I know what
No,
their
but
record is.
do you know what Virginia Tech's record in the
I
ACC
do.
is?
What is it?
Like 3-1, 2-1, something like that.
They're
Three
gonna
and
win.
one.
Look at them win the ACC. They
Eh?
somehow sneak in, backdoor in,
They
and
are
play.
3-1 right now.
They
And 4 and
backdoor.
4 overall. Same
They
record as Georgia Tech, and I wouldn't put Georgia Tech in this thing either.
Virginia Tech somehow backdoors in and upsets Florida State and wins the ACC.
No way. No way. And
Do you know the backup team, the second place team in the ACC this year will get to go to a New Year's Six because of the Orange Bowl being part of the ACC, have the ACC deal with the ACC. So then like there's no good second team. Well, I guess Louisville's not bad. So there's Louisville's pretty good. Louisville's pretty good.
well, I thought North Carolina was going to be that second team for a long time, and then that just went the way of the dodo.
All right, Tyler, who did you pick in this game? You said Louisville?
Oh yeah.
Now,
I'm
let
gonna
me
pick
ask you a
Tech to
question
cover.
real quick. Off your logic, if Florida State somehow fell out of the playoff, then they're going to the Orange Bowl, and the second team goes somewhere else. Correct?
No. The champion would go. In my weird scenario, Virginia
Right.
Tech would go.
But if Florida State falls out,
Then Florida State would go to
okay,
some
gotcha.
other. Yeah.
No, but if Florida State falls out of the playoff is what I'm saying. Top
Yeah,
four.
but
And
Florida
then
State
won
would.
the Orange Bowl.
Florida State would.
Or won the ACC. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but Florida State would still make a New Year's Six bowl.
Which would be the Orange Bowl. So you wouldn't have two ACC teams.
No, the Orange Bowl would be the champion in that case. But
Right.
So the Orange Bowl will either be the ACC champion, or if an ACC team makes the playoff, then it'll take the second place team. Yeah.
Let's hope for Florida State to the Orange Bowl and they don't make the playoff.
If they lose one game, they won't make the playoff because the ACC is not a good enough conference.
Well, you already said they're losing one when Virginia Tech gets them in the ACC title game.
I don't think that's going to happen. I'm being funny. I think Florida State beats them by like 5 touchdowns.
Allen would take that spread.
We'll cross that bridge another time. Anyway, moving on. 3:30 p.m. on Fox. You have number 9 Penn State going against Maryland.
Wait,
Penn
who'd you
State
pick?
Point favorite.
Who'd you pick in the last game, Allen?
Yeah, who'd you have, Louisville or Tech?
Louisville's going to win. Tech will cover.
Really?
Interesting.
Got to make up ground on Tyler, so we'll see.
That's a bold move there.
Yes, sir. Anyway, Penn State's 10.5-point favorite. Bob, who you got?
I got Maryland.
Outright?
I don't know about that. I got Maryland covering.
How about you, Tyler?
Well,
I'll take Penn State to win.
Maryland hasn't looked great. They've lost the last 3 games. They look pretty bad. But Penn State didn't look good. They barely beat Indiana. I think they recover this week. I got Penn State by about 2 touchdowns. Penn State.
I have Penn State as well. Next game we have 3:30 on ESPN. Number 4 Florida State going against Pittsburgh. Florida State is a 21.5-point favorite. Who do you have, Tyler?
Man, they have some bad. The weird thing is there's 5 top 25 matchups, but then there's some stupidly bad games on here. This is a sucky matchup. Florida State.
How can anyone in their right mind take Pitt?
They suck. They did beat Louisville.
I'm in my right mind, Alan.
So you're gonna take Pitt?
No, I said, how can anyone in their right mind take Pitt? I'm not
Oh,
taking
okay.
Pitt.
All right. So we're all taking Florida State. Got it.
There should have been many other games put on this thing than those two pieces of ACC junk.
There's some bad, but there's some great games. There's 5 ranked matchups this week. It's a good week,
hmm
but
Yep. Next we have 3:30 on ABC, the last Bedlam Bowl. Oklahoma against Oklahoma State. Oklahoma's a 5.5 point favorite. What do you think, Bob?
Okie State to win and cover.
Okay. Tyler?
Oklahoma State's playing better in Oklahoma. Last game against each other in Oklahoma State. Yeah, I kind of like the Hokies. Cover and win.
We all picked cover and win for that. Next game, 7 o'clock on ESPN, number 22, Kansas going against Iowa State. Iowa State is a 2.5 point favorite. Tyler, who do you have?
Kansas with the big upset, charge the field. I never like teams the week after that. And Iowa State's also playing pretty good, and they're going on the road. I'm telling you, every single time my team or any team I've noticed does that like field storming stuff, the next week they don't play as well. Iowa State.
Bob?
Iowa State.
We all have Iowa State for this game. Next game is 7:30 ABC, number 5, Washington going against number 24, USC. Rangers just won the World Series in baseball news.
Oh,
Washington, the 3.5 point favorites. So, Bob, who you got as you celebrate the World Series win?
Why am I celebrating the World Series win? I don't like the Rangers.
Yeah, but you like baseball, so you know what? This is the highlight of the season right here, sir.
I'd celebrate with Game 7. But anyway, USC does have to play defense in this game too, right? They've got to put their defense on the field.
Last time I
optional.
checked, yeah.
I'll go Washington.
Tyler?
So Washington, have you guys seen Washington play the last 2 weeks after they beat Oregon? Have you seen them play against
I just
Arizona?
watched them beat Oregon, and I retired.
They
Okay,
barely survived against Arizona or
They
Arizona State.
barely beat Arizona State at home. They were only up by 2 with 4 minutes left against Stanford. Those teams are combined 4-12. Washington seemed like they blew their load against Oregon and thought that's the end of the season. I don't love how they're playing. But USC, I don't know, give up 90 points each week. A blind person score. It's kind of like a little bit of a weird game because of the dynamics of both teams not playing great. You know what? USC's totally going to have a Caleb Williams is going to come out there and be like, you guys forgot I can win a game of my own. USC.
And
You know his
my pick,
touchdown to ratio pick this year?
What?
my pick, by the way, is an indictment against USC. It's not that I believe in Washington 100%, but I think USC's defense is just flat gutter trash.
I mean, I do agree with that. I just think Caleb Williams could score 70 points. I think it's like 55-52 USC.
Be better than that Virginia Tech Louisville game.
USC will come.
USC wins? Okay.
Yep, the win and cover. Next game we have 7:45 on CBS, LSU against Alabama. Bama's a 3.5 point favorite.
I really like this game.
Good.
Yeah, I like this game because it's a good offense versus a good defense. And then you have kind of a marginal offense against a very marginal defense. So it's like good on good, bad on bad. I think Jaden Daniels. You guys, he might win the Heisman. You realize that, right? Jaden Daniels might win the
Mhm.
Heisman. He's top 5 right now.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels.
Yes. Third or fourth.
Jane Daniels is like, I'm going to try to win the Heisman this year.
So you're picking LSU?
Yeah, it's LSU. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Roll Tide.
Bob?
He said
I
roll tide.
think people don't believe in Alabama, and every week they don't believe in Alabama. Alabama looks marginally better than their opponent. I mean, they look like Tennessee looked horrible, I thought, against Alabama. Ole Miss, I believed in the hype for a little bit, and Alabama made them look like a rec league team. I mean, I think Alabama somehow keeps covering and more importantly, keeps winning. I don't think Nick Saban cares about covering. I think he wants to win. I think Alabama wins a night game in Tuscaloosa. Give me the Tide. Roll Tide.
I don't know if LSU's going to win, but I think they're going to cover.
Well, it's a 3.5.
Exactly. So it's going to be a close game.
So you think
So
LSU
we'll see what
basically is up
happens.
1 and Bama kicks a field goal to win it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
I think Jaden Daniels, though, he's playing so well that if he plays if he plays as well as he's been playing, there's no way Jaden Milroe can keep up. And I know what you said about Alabama, but it's not because of their offense. They beat
I didn't. Yeah, I
beat
agree.
Arkansas by 3, beat Texas A&M by 7, and each game it was because the defense was able to do enough. I just think Jaden Daniels is going to be able to make enough plays to score points, and I don't think Jalen Milroe can keep up. So I really am believing in one player over another, but it's quarterback. It's kind of a key position.
That's fair. I mean, we'll see what happens. So next game we have 10:30 on FS1, number 20 UCLA going against Arizona.
Arizona.
UCLA is a 2.5-point favorite. Bob, who you got?
It's a good basketball game back in the 90s, 2000s, by the way.
That's true.
Give me Arizona.
Have you guys seen Arizona recently? They're
I
not
can't
bad.
stay up that late.
Oh, they're not bad. They beat Oregon State. They whooped Washington State. They outplayed USC. They blew the game.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona's
I did
pretty
see
good.
that, yeah.
Arizona's pretty good. They almost beat Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Those Wildcats.
So you cover and win?
Heck yeah. Give me those
Okay.
give me those cats. Do you believe?
No.
That's the next game.
True. But no, I'm gonna go with UCLA.
Boo. He's not a believer, Bob. He doesn't believe in Jed Fish.
I mean,
Boo.
I just said
You don't believe in
that.
not Jaden Delora. What's the new one? What's their Noah you don't believe in Noah Fifta or the freshman quarterback that took over for Delora?
Oh yeah, I know you're talking
Delora's
about.
never getting his job back.
Nope,
One of my
that
good
is
friends,
true.
his cousin is Jed Fish.
Oh, really?
Yep. Yep.
Nice. Well, Jed Fish is he's a good football coach. He has always been a good football coach. That was a good pickup by Arizona. It's going to be awful sad when Jed Fish decides to take his talents to Michigan State.
We'll see. We will see. Now the nightcap, we have the other nightcap at 10 p.m. on ESPN. Oregon State going against Colorado. Oregon State is a 13.5-point favorite.
Do you believe?
Who do you got, Tyler?
No, I have Oregon State winning by about 17. Colorado's not any good. Oregon State, though, man, they lost at Arizona last week. They've been a little bit disappointed recently themselves, but here's Oregon State.
How about you, Bob?
Oregon State.
You all three agree it's Oregon State. What's the total score that you have?
52.
I don't know
Okay.
how I got to
Well,
my total score. I'm trying to figure that out right now.
I have it
Uh,
35-17.
65.
I have 70, so we'll see how it goes.
Have you guys seen Oregon State's offense? I'm assuming not by those predictions.
I believe people in a shootout can get inspired offensively.
DJ
That's fair.
Ugalele.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to head off, man. It's late, and I was supposed to go to bed like I don't know, like half an hour,
3 hours
45 minutes.
ago.
Yeah.
All
Are we gonna predict the
right.
Liberty
Well,
game? Liberty beats Louisiana Tech
I agree.
and,
100%.
and gets a first round. And sorry, not they have the Conference USA championship at Liberty.
Flames go unbeaten.
I would, what game I'm a little worried about?
Old Dominion.
Yep.
Well, if Jamie Chadwell announced he was leaving, I'd be worried about UMass.
That's the only way. Only way I'd worry about UMass.
Well, I didn't think there would be any way under the sun that New Mexico State would have basically just embarrassed Liberty last year until
But when your coach literally
right.
announces before the game that
yeah.
But if that doesn't leak, there is no way in the world
No.
that New Mexico State. I'm not saying they don't win, but they don't handle them. I mean, they absolutely handle.
Oh yeah,
Liberty.
looked like Liberty wasn't even there.
Right.
That was because that was terrible. I was at that game too, and I didn't even go to very many games last year. That happened to be one of the two I went to. So I was like, great.
I normally miss one game a year. That's my quota.
Well, I'm gonna try to watch both games at the same time, Oregon and
Good
Liberty.
luck. Make sure you don't get popped on the sideline, though.
I probably won't be on the sideline. My wife's gonna be there and stuff. I'm probably
Okay.
gonna head up to the crowd.
Because
Are you
Liberty's trainer last year, Barry Fink, got
Yeah.
knocked. I mean,
broke his
bad,
leg?
bad.
Broke his leg, right?
Yeah, that was bad.
Did they have to carry him off in a stretcher?
I think they had him. I think they carried him off and they had him in the not a stretcher to where he's laying down, but I call it the sit up stretcher because I think they had an air cast on his leg. I think, but don't quote me
What
on
was
that.
he doing that had happened?
He was just on the sideline,
Just
and
not
the play ran over to the sideline. He just got rolled into.
Ooh, yeah, you got to watch out.
Barry's a good guy though, real good guy.
Yeah, I always like even when I'm on silence, I'm a ways back.
Just throw Nick in front of you.
Dude, I thought you guys were boys.
We are, but you can sacrifice him.
I can picture that happening too.
I can easily see Tyler going like this and just throwing Nick in front.
So what'd you think
Then-
of So before I go, what'd you think of the first college football playoff rankings?
What do you mean?
Any
I mean, I think we have an obvious West Coast bias now. But
what do you mean?
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. You have Washington and Oregon both sitting out.
5 and 6, yeah.
But if you left, who are you going to leave out? That's the thing. Who are you going to leave out?
Oh, you mean a bias against the West
Correct.
Coast?
Correct.
Well, Oregon couldn't I'm Oregon this, Oregon that, Oregon's
I've noticed.
amazing, but I still wouldn't rank them in the top 4. They lost a game. I think
Well, I
they're
would rank Washington then.
Yeah, I mean, I think Oregon's a top 4 team. I think they're gonna basically win the Natty and just like do away with the sport and call it Oregon. But other than that little I'm kidding, Alan. But no, I do actually think Oregon's going to make playoff. I think a lot of people do, but but I think Washington could be. Yeah, but who'd you take out?
Yeah, I agree.
Florida State.
I probably would.
I mean, if you're gonna just go off a team that has played absolutely nobody, it's Michigan.
Sure.
Now that, but they've looked so good that it's like, oh well,
That's why they're third.
yeah, because they're like their schedule is literally dog doo doo. By the way, I didn't realize Georgia's playing number 12 Missouri. Then they got number 10 Ole Miss, and then they got number 17 Tennessee. Oh, who knows if they're rated that exactly as time? But I didn't realize that Georgia kind of has a tough
Mm-hmm.
down the
Yep.
stretch schedule. Do you think they
You
lose?
got the gauntlet at the end.
Do they finally lose,
No.
Alan?
Gonna be tough, but I don't think that. Probably not.
I'm going to predict it right now.
Go ahead.
Tennessee beats them at Tennessee.
Well, if they lose one, that's the one. I mean, I can't see them screwing up at home against Missouri or Ole Miss. I mean, I'd probably be more worried about the
It's Tennessee.
conference championship game.
It's Tennessee at Tennessee.
I wouldn't be shocked. I'd be surprised, but not shocked.
They have won. What has Georgia won? They've won 23 games in a row, and it's just every time you just know that there's that one game, and it just feels like that, number 26, they've won what, 40 out of the last 41. That's the game. Tennessee, good at home, loud stadium.
You might be right, but I wouldn't go bet the house on it.
Really?
No.
I bet my house on it.
You ain't coming to live with me.
Please.
Yeah.
Pretty please.
Who is Georgia's last loss to?
Alabama in the SEC championship. And then they came back and beat him in the national title. Do you know that in the playoff era, Alabama and Georgia have played each other twice for the national title?
Wow.
Yeah, wasn't the other time when Aaron Murray was starting quarterback
No.
for Georgia?
That's well before the playoff. The last time was when Tua Tagovailoa took over for Jalen Hurts and threw the game-winning touchdown to Devontae Smith.
Okay.
And Georgia was handled in that game by Alabama. That they lost.
You mean Alabama was handled by Georgia?
Well, both. Because Alabama beat Georgia by 17 in the game Georgia lost, and Georgia beat Alabama by 15 in the rematch.
Oh, you're talking about you're talking about the other year.
I'm talking about the last loss that Georgia had.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Georgia played a terrible game.
Yep.
I remember that game because they just blew everyone out like the whole season. And then they went to the SEC title game, and it just seemed like they knew they were in the playoff. Because I remember it didn't really matter if they win or lose. And they just played a horrible game. Like they were like out of position. It didn't seem like they cared. And Alabama had to win that game to make the playoff. But then in the national title game, Jameson Williams tore his ACL, and it was really problematic. Alabama couldn't do anything offensively.
5 field goals to start the Natty that year. No scoring touchdown-wise until the third quarter.
I remember that. It was a decent Natty. It was better than last year. There's not been that many. If you think about it, there's not been that many great national title games.
No.
Like Clemson versus Alabama, the first one was really good. What's been another recent one? Oh, Georgia versus Alabama, the one that 2-1. So those two were good. Like Auburn versus Florida State before the playoff was a good one. Auburn versus Oregon was a good one. But in the playoff area, like Ohio State blew out Oregon. Clemson blew out Alabama. TCU got blown out. Georgia blew out Alabama. Well, what am I missing? Alabama blew out Ohio State. What am I missing?
Was there an Alabama LSU in the playoff area?
No, that was before. LSU blew out Clemson. Like most of the playoff era, there's been really two good games.
Mhm.
Sorry. The Clemson, Alabama. So Clemson and Alabama played 3 times.
Two in a row.
3. Not in a row, right?
No, 2 in a row.
2 in a row,
They're doing it
then
right. Yeah.
it was 2 in a row, then Alabama beat Georgia, and then it was Clemson over Alabama.
Yep.
The first 2 were pretty good. Well, the second one was really good. The first one, Alabama definitely won, but Clemson was competitive.
45-40.
Yeah, but I remember it was like the whole game they were up by like 10 to 14 to a touchdown. Then the second one, that was just a Donnybrook. That was amazing.
35-31.
That was the one they threw the touchdown to Hunter Renfrow in the end zone with under a minute left. That was a great game. And then that Georgia-Alabama game where Georgia was winning, and then they benched Jalen Hurts, came out to a Tagovailoa, and he wins in overtime. That was a good game, but man, not that good. I hope the national title's better this year.
Alan, you may be in trouble when y'all play Jeopardy.
It's gonna be bitter. Oh, I'm gonna destroy Allen.
Wow.
Well,
Hey, Alan, I got a question for you. Have you heard me say that you were going to get destroyed until right now? And I didn't say destroyed, by the way.
Alan, can you talk?
Oh, I can
think he's
talk. I'm
talking
just
up your
listening.
document.
I'm listening to all the BS going on right now from both of you, so that's why
I
I'm
haven't said
just.
a word.
Yeah.
Bob
Okay.
didn't
Okay.
say. Bob actually didn't say anything. Don't blame Bob. Bob was like, "Wow," when I said, he's just like, "That was some hardcore." Alan, do you think you're really gonna beat me at Jeopardy?
I don't know.
Okay, let's do 3 questions right now, and then I'm going to bed. Because I actually have to go to bed. 3 quick questions.
Well, then I'm going to have to change the questions. All right, how about this? How about let's just do the 100 from each category. So that's 5 questions, 100 points.
Okay.
Okay. How are we going to how are we going to ring in here? Raise your hand or what?
I'll say my name, or you say your name first.
Did you hear that, Alan?
I heard it.
Say your name. Don't say Tyler's. All right. Category BYU football. Who was BYU's first Big 12 conference win against?
Alan?
Yes.
Texas?
Incorrect.
Texas Tech.
Incorrect. Cincinnati. Category Pac-12. Who won the first Pac-12 title game?
Tyler.
Yes.
Oregon.
Correct. Category Big 12. What was the first year of the Big 12?
Tyler.
Yes.
2000
Incorrect.
Alan.
Yes.
1993?
Incorrect.
98.
1996.
Thanks, yeah.
Heisman Trophy in the Big 10. What Ohio State player became the first man to win 2 Heisman trophies?
Tyler.
Alan.
Archie Griffin.
Archie Griffin. I had it first, sir.
No, I did. I said Tyler.
Tyler.
No, I had you.
I said Alan first.
No, I said Tyler.
We might have to go back and look at the tape.
I said I totally beat you.
Nope.
Yes, I
There's
did.
no way. Nope.
Yes, I did.
No, I said
Yes,
mine
I
first
did.
before you
No,
said.
I said
Nice try,
Tyler.
though.
All right, let's see.
Video
Two
replay.
categories left. King James. James Franklin came to Penn State after serving as head coach at what SEC school?
Allen,
Tyler.
Allen. I heard
Vanderbilt.
Allen. Yes,
Vanderbilt.
that's correct. Category: dead or alive? Jim Thorpe.
Tyler.
Allen.
Yes,
Dead.
correct. So after this, I have like let's see. Let's see. 1, 2. Well, Tyler got 300 points on good guesses, but he lost 200 points on bad guesses. I'll figure out the points.
Okay, we're gonna go back. You got me on the one, but I got you on the other one.
He's talking to you, Alan. He's not talking to me.
I know what he's saying. He
Well,
did not give me on Archie Griffin.
Well, then can we? How can you get the clock back? Hold on. I think you can do it on here actually.
I think I heard Tyler, to be honest with you. But we can review it.
Oh, you can't go back on here? I thought you could go back on this.
Maybe after it's all done.
He's talking to you, Alan. He's not talking to me.
Can you hear yourself?
Yes.
I
Yep.
thought you could go back live.
We'll review.
Oh, dang it. I'll bet you $10. You actually didn't pay me, by the way. You're supposed to pay me for the one thing.
I still have to pay you. I haven't forgotten.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, I gotta go.
See ya.
Take it easy, sir. Till next time. Bob, I'm pretty sure I had him because I didn't even let you finish the question.
I really think I heard him though first, but I'm willing to review. Hey, at least you didn't miss it though.
Yeah, no, if I missed that, I'd be in trouble. But no, there's no way I would miss that, sir.
I didn't say you would. Why are you coming after me on this one? I'm the impartial host.
Well, we'll see what happens when we do it next time. So we'll see.
Well, good news is even if he got that and you didn't, it's only 100 for him, negative 100 for you. So it's still like, super duper close.
Oh well, that could have been worse. So you know what? We'll see. But no, I'll find out about it later in the week. Don't
Yep.
worry. So that being said, how do you feel about the passing of Bob Knight?
I think a lot of people are going to remember Bobby Knight for his bad, which is, the throwing of the chair against Iowa. Technical foul actually came against Illinois to where Ted Valentine threw him out. And you can go look it up on YouTube where Ted Valentine is literally sitting like this. And he'll look up. You can see his eyes move up. And Bobby Knight walked right in front of him, walked all the way across the floor to leave the gym, brushed Ted Valentine. So, yeah, I think people are going to remember. And then the incident with the kid from Indiana. I want to say Neil. It's not Neil Reed. I forget what his name is. The guy that said, hey, Knight, and Bobby Knight gets fired, goes to Texas Tech. But, Bobby Knight's also the last coach to have I think he's the last coach to have an undefeated team. Tark might have.
Correct.
But, there's a lot of good that Bobby Knight did, and there's a lot of coaching accomplishments that he should be recognized for. And I think only your hardcores are going to remember that. I think your average fans can remember the bad, not the good.
That's true. I mean, in this generation right now, some won't even know that he coached in Indiana or that he played basketball at Ohio State for another one.
Coach Mike Krzyzewski.
Yeah.
I mean, coached
his coaching
Isaiah
tree.
Thomas.
Yeah.
Cut Michael Jordan
Steve
from the
Alford.
Olympic team. Yeah. I mean, Steve Alford was a super duper big deal at that point.
Mhm.
Damon Bailey was Mr. Basketball who chose Indiana. So, I mean, there's a lot that, like I said, I think there's a lot more Bobby Knight did positively, but I think people in this culture want to shout out the negativity a lot more.
That's true, and I mean that's why it's a shame that he'll be more remembered for the bad things than the good things. But I mean, when he retired, he was the winningest coach of all time. Since then, Krzyzewski took over, but still, I mean, he had 5 national championships. He did have the last undefeated season, which no one has been able to repeat that feat since. I think Kansas was the last, or Kentucky was the last one that was close to that, but they lost in the Final Four. So, or just before the Final Four. But either way, just watching some of that, it's seeing how it goes and just what's going to happen. So, are you enjoying the celebration?
I turned it off. I can't watch. I don't do celebrations unless it's my team celebrating.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. But no, I mean, we'll see how that goes. And yeah, with Liberty's coach unfortunately passing away, a lot of people will never know him only because whenever you would hear people talk about Liberty football, you would hear about Sam Matigliano.
Yep.
You'd never hear his name.
Yep. Morgan Hout, I mean, really got kind of things going. Just like, a lot of people, if you said, a baseball coach at Liberty, they're going to say Bobby Richardson more than they're going to say Al Worthington. And Worthington had the stadium named or the field named after him. I think Morgan Hout is going to be definitely, when you're thinking about who got Liberty on the ball. I mean, Coach Sam he had an NFL pedigree. And to me, this is when, Liberty got into a little thing, and maybe they're still in it, but let's get the big names to come in. If there's a big name, we're going to go with the big name over the, rising star, so to speak, because big names get more attention. Morgan Hout definitely was not a big name. I want to say he coached one of the first Liberty guys to go to the NFL, and Kelvin Edwards. So I think Morgan Hout did a lot of good. And rest in peace. I just think like you were kind of saying about Bobby Knight. I think a lot of people don't get remembered because they're old. Obviously, when you die, I hope you're old. Hope you don't die way before your time. But I think I'll give you a great example. Hate to go off on a tangent here a little bit, but every day I play the Immaculate Grid. It's a sports trivia game on the internet. It's kind of like Wordle. You get 9 guesses to match up little squares. But if I am playing it and I guess somebody from the 80s or 90s, my rare score is going to be higher. But you've got people that are like, in their 20s, and they're guessing, well, who played in the past 5 or 10 years? You know what I'm saying? Like, so, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think we all have, most people have the memory of, Hugh Freeze. I mean, I'm just going off Liberty. They have the Hugh Freeze memory. I don't think a lot of people really remember as much before that. Maybe Turner Gill a little bit because Turner was the first coach that when they were in Division I. But I think a lot of people don't remember, like the Sam Martiglianos and even the Danny Roccos. I just think some people
Mm-hmm.
don't remember that type of stuff because, quote unquote, it was too long ago. And I mean, shoot, some of these freshmen were, I don't want to say they were going to bed earlier than Tyler at that time when some of
Mm-hmm.
these people were coaching. So that's why I love history. I mean, when sometimes in our little chat, if Santiago throws out a trivia question, I mean, I know the older people as opposed to, if you ask me who scored 30 last night in the NBA, I'm probably out of luck. But if you ask me
Yeah.
who was the number one pick in 86, probably got it for you.
Well, no, and that's why, like, for that thing with Santiago, when he mentioned about that question that I looked up, he hadn't given a hint yet. And so for me, I already took myself out because I looked it
Right.
up. But when you put it on the Rockets, I was like, when I looked at who it was, I was like, that's not a good hint. That was why I said my hint because as soon as I said that, you knew who it was immediately.
Yep.
Because even though he did play for the Rockets, a lot of people know him more for the Wizards.
Well, the question
And we're
was,
from
let's go ahead and reveal the question. I mean, it's not like it's a secret at this point. I think
Go
the
ahead.
question was something like Kevin Durant had passed or was getting ready to pass like 2 former Rocket teammates. Am I right?
Yes. Yeah. He's 11th place all time in scoring,
Right.
and he'll be passing 2 former Rocket teammates that played in the 80s.
Yep.
And
And
then
the answer was Moses Malone and Elvin Hayes.
yes.
I think most people, when they think of Rockets in the 80s, Akeem is coming to mind first and foremost.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if you look at it too, and that's the thing about when I play these grid games, you're always going to be more quote unquote rare if you can guess the guy that played 1 year for a team, because a lot of people forget. I mean, if I asked you, and I'm not really asking you, but hypothetically, if I asked you, I think Adrian Peterson's played for like 6 or 7 teams.
Okay.
And if I said name them, chances are you're going to be able to name one really easily because he played, I think, 9 years there.
He played for the Vikings, the
Right.
Commanders.
That's my point, though. Stop real quick. You can answer the rest in a minute, but I mean, a lot of people are going to know the Vikings, but
Yeah,
it's
exactly. He won the
harder.
MVP for them.
Right, but it's harder to name those teams that he played for like a year. But that's the thing I was talking about with these young kids who have I don't want to say memory problems, but they're used to seeing Adrian in that uniform where he only played
Yeah.
maybe 7 or 8 games. You can
Yeah.
guess the other ones if you want to, since we're here now.
Let's see.
You said Minnesota and the Commanders.
Yeah.
There's 5
The
more.
Bengals.
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
4 of them are in the same conference. Not division, but conference.
The Jets.
Nope.
Go ahead. I'll let you name them.
Tennessee,
Right.
Seattle, 1 game.
I think that was the final team he played for.
Detroit, he played a whole year in 2020. And then in
Yes, yes.
2017, he split between Arizona and New Orleans.
That's right.
So, but I think I've made my point.
Yep, you did. You did.
So,
Yeah, no, I mean, that's why I know people think about him from I remember when he left the Vikings and went to the Commanders, so that's why I knew that one right off the top of my head. So,
right.
because it was right after he had he was serving his time after getting in trouble for the belt incident
Yep.
with his child. So,
Yep.
I mean, that's how it is for sports. So we'll see who does better than others. It just depends.
It's always a lot of fun. I mean,
It is.
I'm a big boxing fan. And one of the old boxing
Okay.
commentators, Larry Merchant, would always say, boxing is the theater of the unexpected. Well, a lot of times sports is the theater of the unexpected. I mean, we might have an idea who's going to win, who's going to lose. But I mean, think about some of those memories that are just etched into our heads. Since we're doing a top 25, I mean, just think about those moments from college sports that are etched into your mind just because it was either a walk-off win or a buzzer beater or, whatever the case. So I definitely think we have those.
Yeah, I mean, one that comes to mind was when Duke played. It wasn't Gonzaga, it was Butler.
Yep.
When Hayward shot the half court shot that bounced right off the rim.
Almost went in.
Yep.
Probably would have been the most famed NCAA buzzer beater of all time. I mean, my favorite buzzer beater of all time is 1983 NC State against Houston. And I mean, we've seen
Mhm.
that so many times where the missed shot by Wittenberg
Lorenzo
and talk
Charles.
about Lorenzo Charles, and and I mean, you
Mhm.
talk about being the underdog. That was a game NC State had zero business winning.
Oh yeah,
Zero.
oh yeah. That
So
I mean, you being a Dookie, you could always tell that Leighton's
yeah,
spin
against
around
Kentucky.
shots. So,
Yep.
hmm
Yep. I mean, there's a lot of great moments from basketball, a lot of great moments from football, a lot of
hmm
great moments from baseball. And I mean, even in college hockey, I mean, you look at it, and college hockey and even the NHL is the one sport to where teams like shake hands at the end of a series. You don't see that in any other sport to that degree. I mean, football, everybody will go over, find their buddy and hug them, and sometimes give them the jersey, and they'll do the soccer jersey swaps. But I mean, baseball, there's no handshakes at the end of the game with the opposition. Basketball, there's very little handshakes with the opposition.
Oh no, in basketball after every game they do that.
But it's find your friend too. I mean, it's not all I know what I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. But I've seen a lot of people just walk off and ignore that too.
Well, in
So,
college they don't, but in pro, yes, that's right.
I've seen them ignore it in college. I've seen them ignore it.
Okay,
So
well, certain places do, certain
yeah.
don't.
Well, more and you're right. I mean, 95% of the time they're going to shake, but there's that 5% of the time where they don't, and unfortunately, that 5% is what gets mentioned, not the
hmm
95. Welcome to
That's
the
true.
world we live in.
Yes, sir. No, that's true.
Always
I mean,
got to
we'll see
find
what
the negative,
happens.
not the positive.
Yeah, that is the world we live in, sir. So, well, let's say that about wraps it up for us for this week. So, if we were going to try to find you outside here, which would be a mistake, how would we do so?
Stick your head out the window and yell, but if that doesn't work, you can go to Twitter, the Sports Buffet, and life will be ramping up for me soon with high school and college basketball in the area. So I don't know how I feel about
Huh?
that.
That's true. We'll figure out your availability and just how we can keep doing things on here. So,
I don't think it's going to hurt that this much because the games are normally different days. But
okay.
the 3 and 4 days a week of games can get and don't get me wrong, everybody says, "Oh, that's a great gig you have to do the PA or whatever," and I say, "Yeah, it beats digging a ditch because it does." I mean, and that's not anything
hmm
against the ditch diggers out there, but I mean, to work in sports and to get paid, even if it's not richly, but just a little bit, you're still getting to do something in sports as opposed to heavy, hard manual labor.
Well, no, I mean, I understand, and that's why I like for doing this.
Mhm.
Something I'm enjoying trying to do, even if
Yep.
sometimes I have to defend myself or see who's going to insult me. So we'll just keep seeing what happens and play it by ear.
I never insult.
No, no, no. You poke fun. There's a
I poke.
difference. There's
I
a
poke.
difference. Exactly. I say you poke,
Yep.
sir. I'm going on record saying you poke fun.
Mhm.
You don't insult. The only way that if it'd be remotely close to an insult would be if it was something that was completely zany or outrageous. Then I would hear something. But other than that, no, you've always just poked fun, sir. That's how
It's
it always has been.
it's very similar to a brotherhood to where other people can't pick on Alan, but I can pick on Alan, type of thing. So you're
Exactly.
you're defending your sibling there. I'll let other people poke a little bit, but we ain't gonna have them throw haymakers at you. No, no, no.
Exactly. And that's why for Tyler, if we go to the replay and find out that I missed Archie Griffin, I'll own it, but I'm gonna be curious when I go back and listen to this to see who got it.
Well, right now I
'Cause-
have him. I have scored it with him getting it, but if I need to reverse it, I'll be happy to.
okay. And we will figure out about that another time. So
Right.
as well, now you got 5 questions to rewrite, but you know what? I have faith in you. I know you'll
I'm
be
not
able to
rewriting
figure
them.
them out.
Nope. We've started. We've started the 100s. So everything else now just goes from as it is. So we still got 200 through 500, and we still got the final. So we're
Okay.
okay.
What we'll do is we'll set that up for another time outside of the regular
Sounds
time,
good.
and but at least now we've tested out how it's going to be. And like we said, the Rangers have won the World Series. If you were going to find me, I'd be on Alan F. West on Twitter. I would not go there. I have not posted in a long time. I do post on Facebook and Instagram occasionally. If I post anything, I may post the Halloween costumes for me and my daughter. I don't know if you, I like your idea for your costume, but for me, what I did was the new movie, The Batman,
Yep.
with Robert Pattinson. My daughter was Catwoman. I was Batman. So you know what? It worked.
Why don't you get on Twitter and post congratulations to our friends, the Texas Rangers?
You know, I may do that just because, well, I'm happy that they won, and we'll see
Quick,
how it
quick
goes.
trivia for you. Do you know how many World
Yes,
Series they have won before this one?
I believe that was their first
You're correct.
because Nolan Ryan was there for a long time with them, but they were never able to do anything come playoff time.
Well, you got to remember too. Back then, you had two divisions and only
Hmm.
one team one from the East, one from the West getting in. So there was no wild card.
Correct.
I want to say the Rangers made it in '96, the divisional round, and got beat by the Yankees. So,
Yes, yes.
yeah.
That
But
and they've been into the. I believe this was their second or third final in the past 5 or 6 years. I want to say.
yeah, and even more amazing, they made a signing in the offseason of Jacob deGrom, and he didn't really do anything because he
Nope.
missed so much of the year.
Believe he was mostly on the IL for was he come back from like Tommy John? If
Yeah,
memory serves, something like that.
Bruce Bochy's a good manager too.
Yeah, he actually just he's one of three managers to win World Series in both the National and the American League, and it's his fourth World Series victory
Yep,
as a manager. So
he does a good
congratulations to
job.
him.
Yeah, he does a good job.
Yeah, so I did see that, and I also saw Kyle Seager.
Yep,
He won his
MVP.
second World Series MVP.
Yep, yep. Bruce
So
Bochy actually made the World Series with the Padres
Padres, I want to say,
as
yeah.
well, and they ran up against the buzzsaw that year, the New York Yankees in 1998, when the
Mm-hmm.
Yankees had one of the best years of any team in baseball. So, yeah, I mean,
Hundred
you got to give
and
credit.
wasn't that the year they won as 110
Yep.
and 42, something like that?
They started the season like 1-3 or 1-4, and there was
Mm-hmm.
like panic going on in all of New York, and then it worked out pretty well at the end. 2011, I think, in 2010 and 2011, the Rangers made the World Series.
Yeah, that was
Ron Washington.
yes. Yes. But no, the year when Bochy made it with the Padres in '98, I want to
Mhm.
say that their ace pitcher was Andy Ashby. I believe is his name.
I know he was on the staff. Let me take a look real quick. Kevin
Mhm.
Brown was also on that staff.
That's right. Yeah, it was Ashby and Brown. They were the two that were the main pitchers.
Yep. Kevin Brown won 18 games. Andy Ashby won 17. And then it kind of got a little bit, I don't want to say bad, but you then we're getting into people that were 13 and 13 or 9 and 7.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
but that was a pretty good Padres team. Greg Vaughn had a great year that year for the Padres. Ken Caminiti also had a pretty good year, and Tony Gwynn was
Mm-hmm.
Tony Gwynn.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I believe for the playoffs to get to the World Series, Kevin Brown had to pitch 2 games in the NLCS.
I think you're right.
I think he had I think he had 3 days rest in between.
He pitched
I'm
games 2
pretty
and
sure I
5.
remember that.
Yeah, he pitched 2 and 5. But the thing too about that team, and this is just an amazing thing. Tony Gwynn had 500. Let's see, 461 at bats that year, and struck out 18 times.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
yeah, we missed Tony Gwynn, that's for sure, because he was heck of a player and heck of a coach after he finished playing. So
San Diego State.
yeah, I mean, Steven Strasburg, even though he got done wrong by the Nationals this year, he he was Tony Gwynn's prized
Yep.
pupil when he was there as a pitcher, and so
Yep.
we'll see what happens. But I mean, that's neither here nor there. Main thing is we got to go through this, and Bob, appreciate the time. And if you
Always.
guys have any questions, you can always go to our website, the Sportscast, and if you want to look at the sites we merged with, you can look on there and see how that goes. But have a great week, sir. I will get back to you on who got that one question, and I'll try to reclaim my points if it works out that way. How about that?
Sounds good.
Have a great week.
All right, man.
And
You
this
too.
top 20